There comes a moment when you don't feel like yourself anymore. The things that once defined you no longer feel important. The identity you worked so hard to build starts to feel like a costume. The desires that used to fuel your passion begin to feel empty. And at first, this can feel terrifying, because the ego doesn't experience awakening as freedom. It experiences awakening as death. And the ego will say and do anything to survive. It will attempt to fill your mind with doubt. It will tell you to abandon the path that you are on. It will tell you that you are losing yourself. But you're not losing yourself. The ego is losing its throne, because the monad is calling you beyond the ego that kept you trapped inside the illusion. You believe the ego is you because it has been speaking the loudest. It is the voice that says, "This is who I am. This is what I need. Change is uncertain. Staying the same is how I stay safe." And for most of your life, you believed it. You believed you were your wounds, your desires, and your fears. You believed you were the name that the world gave you, the role your family assigned to you, the identity your pain created, and the mask you learned to wear so you could survive. But the monad within you was never any of those things. The monad is not your social identity. It is not your survival patterns. It's not the voice trying to prove, defend, and control. The monad is the silent origin behind everything. It doesn't seek validation, but the ego needs validation to survive. And when your true essence begins to awaken, the ego panics. Because when the light of the monad begins to rise within you, the ego starts to realize it was never truly sitting on the throne. It was only a temporary ruler inside of a false kingdom. The ego did not appear from nowhere. It was shaped by the false world. It was shaped by fear, praise, punishment, and desire. It was taught to survive at all costs. It learned what brought approval. It learned what caused pain. It learned which parts of you had to be hidden, exaggerated, or sacrificed. And over time, this became the you that the world recognized. But recognition by the world is not the same as remembrance of the true self. The world rewards the ego because the ego is easy to manipulate. It can be flattered. It can be shamed. It can be threatened. The ego can be controlled because it is always trying to secure itself through something outside of itself. It seeks more approval, more validation, more status. It needs proof that it even exists. But the monad doesn't need proof. The monad is not trying to convince the false world of its value. It simply is. And this is where the inner conflict begins. A deeper part of you knows that you are not here to worship the illusion anymore. But the ego still believes the illusion is necessary. So when you begin to outgrow the illusion, the ego warns. The monad does not call you beyond the ego because the ego is evil. You must understand this. The ego is not the enemy in some childish sense. It is not a demon to be hated. It is a structure of limitation. It is a tool that forgot that it was a tool. It is a servant that climbed onto the throne and began pretending to be the king. The problem is not that the ego exists. The problem is that the ego believes it is the ultimate truth of your being. It says, "I must control everything. I must be seen. I must win. I'm right and they're wrong. I must protect myself at all costs." But the monad calls from an unfathomable depth. It doesn't call out with panic. It doesn't call out with desperation. It calls with quiet recognition. That strange feeling that your old way of life doesn't align anymore. That quiet knowing that certain desires are losing their grip. That inner pull toward stillness, truth, and freedom from the false self. This calling doesn't always arrive as a dramatic vision. Sometimes it arrives as exhaustion. You just become tired of performing, tired of defending, tired of pretending to be comfortable in an uncomfortable world. And when that exhaustion becomes deep enough, something sacred begins to stir. You stop inflating your ego, and you begin deconstructing your false self. That's the doorway. That's the portal back to the monad. The ego can talk about the monad. It can study it. It can use sacred language. It can even build a spiritual identity around being awakened, chosen, or special. But the ego cannot enter the monad, because the monad is not another possession for the ego to claim. The monad is not an achievement. It's not a title, a status, or a new mask painted with golden light. This is where many people get stuck. They leave one illusion behind, only to build a more spiritual version of the same illusion. Instead of saying, "Look how successful I am," now the ego says, "Look how awakened I am." Instead of seeking worldly superiority, it seeks spiritual superiority. But spiritual superiority is still the ego trying to remain in control. The monad does not make you arrogant. It washes away false perception. It does not make you feel superior. It returns you to what was real before the false self began dividing everything into higher and lower, winner and loser, worthy and unworthy. To move beyond the ego is not to become less human. It is to stop mistaking the human mask for the eternal self. You still work. You still play. You still have responsibilities. But the ego is no longer the master of the house. It returns to its function. It becomes a tool, not an identity. And the monad returns to the silent center. So if you feel like you are losing yourself, look closer. Because you're not. Your true self is returning. You are just losing the identity that was built by fear. Your soul is beginning to remember. You're starting to see the mask that helped you to survive inside the illusion. The monad does not call you into emptiness. It calls you beyond the false self, beyond the ego that demanded control, beyond the illusion that told you the mask was all you were, beyond the world that trained you to forget your origin. The ego says, "If you leave me behind, you'll cease to exist." But the monad whispers, "If you leave the ego behind, you will finally remember the way home." If this transmission resonated with you, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who may be starting to see through the illusion but doesn't yet have the words for it. Comment below. What part of the ego are you being called beyond right now? Your comments help build this field of remembrance, so others who arrive here know they are not alone on the path. And if you feel called to support the channel more directly, there are a few ways to do so. You can leave a super thanks on this video. Buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/magnumopus333. Or you can visit the Magnum Opus 333 store on Teespring. The links are in the description below. And if you want to go deeper with this work, consider becoming a channel member. Memberships help sustain these transmissions and supports the creation of deeper monad-centered content for those who feel called to this path. Remember, your consciousness is the key that unlocks reality. Let's keep unlocking it together. Thank you for watching, Until next time.